Hello and welcome back to another episode of Around the Horns. We are talking Texas baseball with Coach Jim Schlossnagle. Coach, another weekend sweep. How y'all doing?
Yeah, doing pretty well. It's very. I think we got back yesterday around 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock. That was a long day, long 36 hours in Missouri. Two 9 inning games is pretty taxing, but super proud of our guys the way they handled that. Obviously, there were some injury things that. I mean, all our injuries are tough, but when you have kind of two in a day, and then just the emotion of that on Friday night, and then early in the day on Sunday, to have Rylan gets hit by a foul tip, and some of the toughest kids you've ever coached, and so when those guys go down and out, I mean, there's an emotional blow there. But I think our guys did a nice job of overcoming it. Obviously, we had some of the Gasparino and several of the other guys had good weekends to kind of help carry the load, and came out of there. I don't care who you're playing, conference, non-conference. Baseball is not built for the same team to win three days in a row. So we'll take it and use yesterday and today with some rest and get ready for Texas State tomorrow.
Yeah, that was, y'all thankfully had that kind of shortened run rule game on Tuesday leading up into the weekend, and then y'all obviously run ruled Missouri on Friday. How big was it for Spencer and Burns to just have to use those two guys to really set yourself up, knowing that, hey, man, we've got 18 innings that we've got to get through, and you're already down a couple of guys or a guy, and just how big was that to kind of have that rest in the tank?
Yeah, it's huge. And, I wish you probably don't have time, but just all the thoughts, at least for me as a coach, go into that. The value of not having to play the last two innings is enormous. And so you're sitting there and you're like, oh man, should I get Galvan out? Should I take out some of the other guys? And when you're really trying to finish the game, number one, you can't lose the game if the game's over. So I mean, seriously, you want the game to be over with, because I've coached long enough. I've been on a team that blew an 11-run lead in the ninth inning. And once you experience that one time, especially there with the wind blowing out, you're scared to death. Not scared to death of it. You're just conscious of it. And do you take your best defenders off the field, maybe put in a pitcher who throws strikes or not? And if you take your best defenders off the field, maybe that play that somebody makes, that's one of your better players, it doesn't get made. That extends the game. And now you have to use more pitchers, knowing that you had 18 innings the next day. So, yes, I was glad that we got through it. Burns needed the work. I thought Jared was outstanding. And so, yeah, that was a big way to start the day, or start the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of double clicking in there a little bit. When you're evaluating some of those younger guys in the program, I mean, obviously there's times where you want to get them at bats in specific situations, but at the same time, to your point, like, it's really hard to get those final 6 outs. Those outs are always the toughest, it seems like, because the other team is going to fight you no matter what. Then you also have other considerations around, hey, do I burn a guy's red shirt, or, is it really worth getting him this time? Do you look at that from necessarily a matchup perspective, or it's just like, hey, this guy's put in the work, I'd really like to reward him with a little in-game time? What goes all into that?
Well, certainly, I always try and think of the player first. What is the best interest of the player? If you have a freshman where you're like, man, if I play this guy, then he's burning a year of eligibility. And actually, I have conversations with the player himself before that, and say, hey, this is a lot of them don't know the rules. They think a lot of them think they can play a certain number of games and without getting hurt and still be able to redshirt, and you can't. I wish we had those rules in college baseball. I think those rules are actually coming at some point. Once all this settlement stuff gets finalized, I think we'll eventually get a football-like rule. and that would be fair. But sometimes I sit the player down and say, listen, this is this scenario. Do you want me to? I can probably find you 10 to 20 at bats, maybe the rest of the year. But unless somebody goes down, that may be it. And it's okay to say, no, I don't want to burn in on that. And some will say that, and others will say, no, I just want to play and I'll take my chances. And so yeah, you do that. And then, we had some injuries on the weekend. And so in the third game yesterday, even though it was only 7-1, instead of, 10-1, I wanted to get Jonah in a bat because he's making progress. The hitting thing for him is the thing that's, that'll probably be the last thing to come because he just hasn't had live at bats, even in high school. He hadn't played real baseball since last summer, but what he can bring on the bases, maybe he can play in the field. I wanted to at least get him out there. And you and I both know the chances of him being around for 4 years. Yeah. I mean, I hope he is, because we would love to have him as a baseball player for that long. I mean, certainly he's got career in another sport potentially. But guys like Matt Scott, who I think, can be a good college player. That UTSA game, we needed him, and he and I had spoken, and there was some guidelines by which he wanted to play or not play, and those are fair conversations, and we met the guidelines. And so now, I'll look for chances to get him out there. So, but yeah, you still got to win the games. But I always think from a 36,000 foot view first.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's important to always have the players in mind, especially getting that feedback from them I imagine is really important to them as well, because it builds even further trust. And look, you're telling me to trust the process. You're telling me to follow the rules. Be the standard, but also you're being very upfront with them about the opportunities they're going to have. So
yeah, and I want, if it doesn't go the way we all want it, they were a part of the decision. It's like, hey man, I didn't make this decision. You made you made this decision. And but no, we'll see how it goes, and depending on what results we get on all these injuries, it's probably going to take everybody.
Yeah. It was, just going back to Jonah real quick, because he mentioned him. You could tell he was happy to get that at bat, but man, he was real frustrated he didn't get to swing because he wasn't getting anything in the zone at all. So
yeah, I think the umpire had to tell him to go to first base. I don't think he really wanted to. I think he wanted. I think it was Albert Bell or somebody one year got hit and he wouldn't go to first base in the big leagues, and they had to tell him, like, you have to go. So, but he got on first base, and the pitcher's leg time was actually pretty good. Normally not a spot I would run just because the pitcher was pretty quick to the plate. But honestly, I was a kind of a fan in that moment where I wanted to see if he could steal the base, and I just wanted to watch it. So I gave him the green light, which means he can go anytime he wants. And certainly he went on the very first pitch and did a nice job. So he's an exciting player. I want to slow everybody's roll and, allowing him to develop too. And when you're trying to figure things out at this level, at that age, he's supposed to be in high school, like Adrian is supposed to be in high school right now. This is not the easiest situation to do that, but if anybody can do it, those kind of players can.
Yeah, it's always, the proverbial backup quarterback, right? They're always the most popular person on the team because they were recruited for a reason. And obviously there's a lot of hype around Jonah. So yeah, it was funny to see them. Like I said, you could tell he was frustrated that he didn't get a pitch to hit because nothing he got was even close to the zone. But
yeah,
you talked about Will Gasparino, 500 on the weekend, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs. Was there anything different from his approach? Was it the pitches he was actually swinging at, or, what was it? I mean, because he wasn't hitting anything easy. Like there was wind blowing out, but nothing he hit was just, getting lofted.
No, the only ball we hit the only homer we hit on the weekend that was really aided by the wind was Jalen's ball. I think his exit velocity was only 90 miles an hour and it blew out of the ballpark. I had said something on the radio about maybe Schuster's, but I went back and looked. His was 110.
Yeah.
His was a line drive, maybe without wind that just hits the fence, but he actually hit his way harder than I realized. And certainly Gasparino's all of them were legit. Those go out of every ballpark we play in, as long as there's not big north wind. So, I think with Will, it's multiple things. Number one, it's his continued building trust in the thought process that he doesn't need to be in a hurry to hit. He can hit the first pitch, which he did on the weekend. But if it's okay to get into an at bat, it's okay to swing and miss if you get fooled and move on to the next pitch. Where I think in years past, he was so concerned with swinging and missing that it created a little bit of sense of panic in his at bat. And he's growing up. That's maturing and listening to his work with Troy. And then there are some mechanical things, basically trying to get all of our hitters, to start earlier. In other words, when you see if you want the biggest difference between a college hitter or an amateur hitter and a major league hitter is how early their movement begins. You can see videos of, like, Mookie Betts is really good at it. As soon as that pitcher actually starts to move and pick his leg up and turn his rear end towards the home plate, like, he's already beginning his move to hit. And so many young players, we have video of our guys this year. The ball has literally left the pitcher's hand and is a third of the way to home plate, and they haven't done anything yet. And that's a concept that young hitters, it takes them a while to believe in. Sometimes they'll say, well, can I still hit with power that way? Well, what if they throw me a breaking ball? And that's just, we don't have to go all the way into the mechanics of the hitting, but he's starting to truly trust that. And I think you're starting to see those results. So as the walks go up and the contact rate goes up, everything else will go down. Everything else will continue to go up, the production.
Yeah. I was rewatching, I think it was Friday night's game yesterday. And that I'm glad you mentioned, like, kind of the mechanics of the motion of when the ball's released versus when they start. And you could tell he was synchronizing his foot movement or his front leg load with kind of the front leg placement of the pitcher. And he was like, okay, well, that's why I was asking about the mechanical, like, have y'all kind of worked on something around that? Just, he looked much more in sync with the pitcher than he has maybe at other bats that I've, really taken a close look at in the past.
Yes. And we have, and he's, him being such a big, long levered guy, it would be hard he doesn't have real big moves. Because if he did, that would be really tough to kind of sync up and be on time. At least for him right now. This is probably a conversation with Troy, but his moves aren't that big, but we do have to get him going earlier so that he can be on time for the good fastball. And being early, what it allows you to do, it gives you more time to recognize pitches, because when you're late, now you got to make your decision way late and you're way more likely to chase. Obviously, the quality of the stuff you're facing has something to do with that.
Yeah.
Why does an Aiden Moffett, who throws everything so hard, when he's around the zone, he actually gets a lot of swings? And it's because people have to get going so soon because he's throwing so hard. And then the ball goes out of the strike zone and the average fan's going to go, why are they swinging at that? Well, when the fastball is 97 and the breaking ball is, 89, like, you don't have a lot of time. You can't. So unless you get ready really early and give yourself time, then you're going to be in big trouble. So we've tried to get that going with all of them. I think that's been a big part of Ryland's success too.
Yeah. It's always impressed Ryland's ability to, because he kind of goes down to that one knee when he gets leverage to those pitches away, but he has such power to the opposite field. It's, it's an unusual motion, but you're like, man, the way he's able to generate lift with that motion is something else.
Yeah, it is. And he had an at bat Friday, I think, where I think it was with 2 strikes and it was a breaking ball and he had gotten ready early and he just stuck with it and kind of rode it out and hit that breaking ball in the left center field. And so the other part of this is you really got to have your sights set to hit the fastball to the middle of the field, or as a right-handed hitter to right center field. And so your timing is that. And then if you get the breaking ball, again, nobody hits the good breaking balls. You only hit the bad ones, right? And in order to hit the hanger or the one that's in a spot where you can hit it, you have to be timed up. If you're trying to pull everything, then even the bad breaking balls, you're kind of going to pull off of it. So we have some guys on our team that really need to improve in that area. And I go back to a comment I probably made with you before is, this is a little bit facetious, but it really bothers me when teams can play shifts on our players. And because I think that's a development piece that we can be a part of, helping them not do that. It's a little overstated because most guys pull the ball on the ground. That's just what happens in games. But when you look at like Cole Chamberlain, didn't hit the ball hard into a couple shifts this weekend. He actually is really good at hitting the ball to the backside of the field. He just hasn't applied it in games yet. And I think over the course of his career, you'll see more of that. When he pulls it, I want it to be in the air. I want it to be going out of ballparks or going for extra base hits.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Chamberlain. The one thing that's always stuck with me when I first saw him in the fall, one of the very early scrimmages, I think week 2, I was like, man, this kid's got a much better hit tool than I probably anticipated, having seen a lot of his video coming out of California. And, he's a Northern California kid. They don't always get the same love on social media, so sometimes it's very limited views. But the thing that sticks out to me about Chamberlain is it feels like he's always in a 3-2 count. I mean, he's always going deep in at bats. But this weekend, obviously had a lot of hard hit balls, but maybe right at the defender, like you mentioned. Did you kind of pull him aside after he had to replace Galvan to say, look, man, we need you behind the plate. Don't even worry about the at bats. Just focus on doing what's right in front of you. Make sure you're taking care of your pitches and or pitchers, and we'll figure out the batting as the weekend goes or the games go along.
No, I didn't. I don't think anybody did. I mean, he knew he was the next guy up, and we need him to do both.
Yeah.
I mean, we need him. He's a good enough hitter. He caught well. I think he had threw the one guy out. He did a great job. Not only do you have to fill in for Galvan on in an SEC game, you have to go do it, 2 games, back-to-back games. And Oliver Service is sitting there ready to help out as well. But I think his teammates were really supportive. Galvan, we sent him to the hospital because I didn't want to wait on an answer. So he went to emergency care, whatever you call it, urgent care, got an X-ray, came back. We had gotten some good news on that, and I hope that continues. And then I think he helped coach him throughout the course of the game. But no, man, we need him to do both. And the one thing about Chamberlain that I like is he really controls the strike zone. He's not this hitter yet, but he reminds me a lot of. I had a guy at TCU named Matt Carpenter who just finished his major league career, and early in his career, he took so many pitches, and I learned a lot from Carp. I learned a lot from watching Carp play, because from the dugout, you're like, oh my gosh, that looks like such a great pitch to hit, and then you go back, and it really wasn't. It was a strike, but it really wasn't his pitch, and that's a skill that we've had to teach a lot of players here or over the years. And it's a skill that Chamberlain already has, and that's going to benefit him in the long run. Now, what our conversations are like with him is be ready to hit and then decide. Don't, it's like, the old phrase is yes, 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 no. Right. And sometimes I wonder if Cole is like, let me see it first. And then if you do that at this level, the ball's by you. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'd like a little more hitterish. I'm prepared to do damage and then say no. And I think he's capable of doing that. And in the fall, he was a little more relaxed, slower heartbeat. And even in the preseason, didn't he hit a home run in the alumni game?
He did. Yeah.
Yeah. And he hits balls in BP regularly in that Yeti yard to left center field. And so, he's got a long ways to go, but there's certainly the potential to be a very good catcher and a very good offensive player.
Yeah. We talked about Spencer, and you said he really did an impressive job. Your back end guy, Ruger Riojas. I mean, 7 innings, which is the longest a starter's gone this season. 2 hits, no walks, 10 strikeouts. He's mixing in the sidearm now. It's just
Yeah.
kind of every day is a new day with Ruger, and you're like, man, you continue to impress and get better. It's kind of frankly a very crazy story this season so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's not crazy from the standpoint if he was a super talented guy, UTSA, and everybody wanted him. I mean, he visited Georgia was one of the visits that he took. Who we play this weekend? He's always been a strike thrower. He's always had good ride to his fastball, had a good slider, but you never know till you coach a guy and then you see what kind of athlete he is.
Yeah.
I mean, like he's actually a really good. He could be a good position player. I don't know about the hitting, but running around the outfield or even maybe playing in the infield, Ruger can do that. So the athleticism is elite, and he's got a really fun way about him. He and Max Wiener really vibe well. And I don't go to the bullpen, so I don't know what those guys work on. But Max had come back one day and said, "Hey, we have a few new toys we're going to break out." And I guess in high school, when Ruger was younger and thinner and just a little athlete, he actually threw sidearm. That's how he threw, and so that was in him. And so I think having those little things to maybe throw out every now and then to keep the hitter honest, those are great. And he did a great job. He's just I haven't looked at the final numbers, but what a strike thrower he was on Saturday. Just pounded the zone. He kind of kept them smothered with strikes with multiple pitches. And we had a good umpire who was not afraid to call a lot of strikes. Sometimes I think umpires get tired of calling strikes. So he did, Ruger was awesome, and hopefully we'll be good enough to kind of keep him right in that spot. That would be really great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the bullpen in general, I think I had them down as having 1 run the entire weekend or, over the 3 games. And that final run from the bullpen didn't come until the second game on Saturday. So obviously your bullpen is getting the job done, and just those middle innings, which are always difficult, right? Because the starter gets to see a lineup twice or 3 times, and they really start timing you up. And then you bring a new guy in, and as you've talked about, some of those guys aren't pure strike throwers, right? They're going to have to go out and battle and get some ground balls or some flyouts. So really impressive stuff from the bullpen.
Yeah, I think the thing that starters have to deal with too, and especially in today's world, is teams get to prepare for you. And if you pick a pitcher in our bullpen, Dre. You can only watch so much. You can only show your team so much video. Like for instance, for us on a Friday, we'll show the other team's Friday night starter. If they have a defined closer or maybe super reliever, we'll show the guys on video that. Now we have notes on everything. And when you see us, when they change pitchers and you see Troy meet with the hitters, he's just going over, notes and stuff. But when you know who the starter is going to be, shoot, on the Friday night starter, you can start preparing for him on Wednesday.
Yeah.
The Saturday guy, you get the guys to the field early. You can show video. We have pitching machines that can replicate the metrics and the pitches of the guy we're going to face. So those starters, they're good, and that's what makes them good, is they can overcome that. But the relievers, you really can't. So a guy like Max Grubbs, a guy like Dre, Jason Flores continues to do really, really well. Those guys, they're very unique, and they're not the easiest guys to prepare for. And for the most part, they've been really good strike throwers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They were really good. Looking ahead a little bit, you've got Texas State tomorrow night. Somewhat interestingly, has been a more traditionally tough team for Texas over the last couple of years. I was a little surprised. I was looking at the splits, and Texas hasn't won a home game against Texas State since 2018.
Wow.
They continue to beat them up in San Marcos, but lose at home.
You think we should change and move the game over there tomorrow?
Yeah, maybe so. And then I don't know if you've seen the latest polls, but 8 of the top 10 teams in the top 25 are SEC. So another top 5 showdown this weekend as Texas moves up to number 5 against number 3 Georgia. You you don't ever want your kids to look ahead. Y'all always say like y'all play inning by inning, regardless of the score. But y'all ever talk about y'all need to be prepared for a little more extra from a team like Texas State, where they've played a tough schedule. They always have that kind of fire in their belly about, hey, we're playing Texas. It's our chance to go beat kind of the big team. Or do you just try to really treat it as another day and tell the guys, hey, look, just play your game, ignore the noise, so forth?
Yeah, I mean, I think our team's mature. It depends on the maturity of your team. If I were to say something like that to them, what would they do? Try harder? I mean, try harder. Baseball is a game in which if you try harder, you're going to fail. So I think what the better thing to do is that's a conversation we have throughout the entire season. I mean, not the season, the entire fall, to where when you hear our guys say play to a standard, not a scoreboard. Well, when we introduce that language of it's called, what I call it is the language of the program, right? When you start hearing our players say, hey man, we just play pitch to pitch, or hey, it's a faceless opponent, or standard, not a scoreboard. Like those are things that we've introduced the first week of the fall, and we define what they mean. And, same thing on Friday night when we were up, whatever it was, 15-0, or say, listen, keep your eyes off the freaking scoreboard, play to our standard. Do not let up, and I was hoping the third game on Sunday Saturday, we could maybe play 2 less innings, but no, I think our guys were at a point, we certainly know how good Texas State is. Our players are fans too, that they know those guys have the player, those years since 2018, whatever you're talking about. Jalen's played Texas State. Ryland's played Texas State. The head coach at Texas State played for me at TCU. So I know exactly how great their program is. And so, those aren't things we need to talk about too much. If I ever feel like their preparation's poor, then I'll bring it up. But in terms of the game itself, no, we're just going to play the game.
Yeah. I just didn't know if it was ever a tool you use to kind of get a little extra energy out or anything like that. But
I did bring it up, something similar to that, before our BP last Tuesday against Sam Houston. Just talking about not, after we had just had the good weekend against LSU and everybody's patting you on the back and blah, blah, blah. Like in this league, that stuff changes so fast. I mean, in an instant.
Yeah.
And so it's, I know, I don't know if we talked about this, but my first year at A&M, this Pringles thing kind of took, this Pringles thing became a life of its own, kind of a theme for that team. And basically what it was about, when you win one, you want to win two. Like you shouldn't, who would ever get tired of winning? And as you start to do well, it just increases, or it should increase, how desperate. Jared Jeter called it desperation to win. Like we're so desperate to win. And it's like Pringles. Whoever opened a can of Pringles and ate 4 Pringles and closed it up. At least me, if I open a can of Pringles, I eat the whole thing, because they're just it's so addictive. And I want winning to be addictive to our players. And tomorrow night, we only have so many games left. And some of these guys, it's their last year to wear a Texas uniform and play at Dish Falk. So you never want to be someone that takes advantage of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Trying to get that play controlled, but play with that urgency, knowing that, to your point, there's only so many games left in the season. Well, Coach, I know we've been on the air for a minute. I'll let you get out of here, but one last question for you. MLB opening day, should it be a national holiday or not?
Yeah. I mean, for me, yes. Most kids take off school anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would vote for that. I wish they could find a way to not do it during the March Madness deal. But yeah, what a great day. And maybe President Trump can pull that off.
There you go. Yeah, I saw a lot of social media posts, and it was just, you see all the pictures from opening day. It's always amazing to see the fans turn out, and you got kids, to your point, kids taking off school and they're at the ballpark catching foul balls and everything. So really cool stuff. But
yeah, no doubt.
Well, have a great week ahead. Looking forward to see y'all on the field on Tuesday, and then again this weekend against Georgia. Best of luck, Coach, and hook 'em.
All right, hook 'em. Thank you.